Mitchell here with Rapid Response, and I'm here with Jeff from Fire-Dex, and we're going to go over quickly the new Fire-Dex gear which we're offering here at Rapid Response. So Jeff, obviously looking at these two sets of gear, there's really not much difference to the plain eye except the color and the striping, obviously. Which gear is this right here? Is this the...
This set, Matej, here is the FXR product, which is Fire-Dex's premium bunker gear offering, incorporating all of our ergonomic, engineering, and comfort features into our bunker gear.
So we'll compare to like Globe, for instance. What level of Globe gear, like the G Extreme or the GX7?
Well, certainly we like to think this is in a class by itself, but all bunker gear manufacturers, whether it's Globe or any of the other folks, all have a premium offering. Globe's premium offering is known as the G Extreme product.
Okay. And what about this right here? It's also a FXR. What is this right here?
This is not. This garment here is known as the Fire-Dex Assault garment. This is our legacy product. This is what Fire-Dex got started with 31 years ago when we got into the PPE business. So the Assault product is really what spawned the need for the FXR product, because we took everything that we learned about this, wanted to change and improve upon, and engineered it into our FXR product.
Okay. And just looking at the coat up here, I can see that the stitching is a little different on this than I've seen in other gear. And we talked about in our presentation that we had that Fire-Dex is different in that they use lock stitching versus your chain stitching. Can you just do a very quick, brief explanation of what the difference is?
Absolutely, Matej. So very simply, everybody knows what a chain stitch is. Anyone that's ever opened up a bird seed bag or a feed bag knows that that very loosely assembled stitch at the top tears away very easily. That's a purposely constructed loose chain stitch to make the bag very easy to open. The philosophy being that once you loosen one stitch, the rest of them very easily come undone. At Fire-Dex, that's a big no-no. We don't use any chain stitching in our construction. We utilize double needle lock stitching exclusively. We're one of the few manufacturers in the industry that offers that as a standard protocol. And essentially what that means, Matej, is when you break a thread or a stitch on your bunker gear, and those of us that have worn it for a long time know it's not a matter of if you're going to break a stitch, but when. It's not going to compromise and cause the stitch to its left or right to unravel.
Okay, so pretty much because it uses double needles, it uses, would you say it's fair to say it has double the amount of stitching as a Globe, for instance?
Absolutely, and not that I want to single out any one particular manufacturer, but yes, the Fire-Dex garment has twice as much stitching in it, twice as much thread holding the body of the garment together than most of the other folks in the bunker gear world because of the double needle lock stitching that we utilize in our assembly.
Outstanding. So as firefighters, one of the things that I never really thought about is how much we really have our hands always over our head. You know, all of us here are firefighters, and the more we think about it, we really do a lot of overhead stuff, whether it's pulling ceiling, whatever we're doing. One of the neat things with this coat here, which Jeff, if you don't mind pointing out to us, is how the shoulder is constructed, how the actual arm panel is stitched on closer to the neck. Can you just demonstrate what the difference between these two is and what a drastic difference that makes as far as coat rise?
The FXR pattern, Matej, is constructed around what we call active posture design, which is our philosophy on the active motions that a firefighter goes through in performing day-to-day tasks. So one of the things that we want to create is a tension-free bunker gear solution, in that the wearer doesn't experience any unnecessary stress or tension in wearing our garment. So I'm going to ask our subject to come over here right in front of the camera, and I want him to lift his arms up over his head so we can see that there's no tension or stress created in the fabric here. When you have tension and stress in the fabric, that creates a downward pushing motion on your arm and shoulder that over time lends to unnecessary stress and fatigue. So now we'll get Mark to zoom in on the hem of the coat. We're going to turn our wearer sideways. We're going to have him lift his arms up over his head and simulate a ceiling pull exercise. And you see how stable that coat is, how it really hasn't manipulated out of position. This achieves a couple of things. It eliminates what we call the shoulder press effect of the SCBA. So every time the wearer lifts their arms over their head, they're in essence lifting the weight of that SCBA. The other thing that this design permits us to do is give the firefighter a torso length that covers them around the waist, with the NFPA 1500 standard in mind, giving them overlapping coverage. We don't need to give them an extra long coat to accommodate coat rise. So we'll push this wearer away for a minute, and we'll pull in our other subject wearing the Legacy Assault product. This is a tried and true pattern that's been on the market for 30 plus years. However, we've tried to take some of the deficiencies with it, if you will, and improve upon it and create the FXR. So we're gonna do the same arm lift and see the tension that's created underneath the arm. So you see the tension and stress that's created in here. That leads to the downward pushing motion that we get in the shoulder and the sleeve. Now we'll have Mark zoom down onto the hem. In the same effect, as the wearer lifts their arm up over their head, you see how much the coat moves. So go ahead and drop your arms down and bring them up again. You see how the coat moves and rises out of position. That's what we're trying to eliminate with today's modern design of the FXR.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible looking at it. If you can turn the camera for a second, as jumps again. It's incredible also look at the profile as to how it looks very boxy versus when Josh raises his arm, you can't really just kind of contours to his body.
It does.
And again, if you look at on the underside here too, you know, Derek, you can feel tension here if I pull down, whereas Josh, I have really nothing to pull down. So that's pretty neat. You know, put your hands down. So I'm assuming everything as far as radio pockets go or whatever, that's all customizable. So everything, department's looking for radio strap on this side, that side, it's all something that can be done.
It is. All of our custom bunker gear options, whether it's FXR or Assault, are fully customizable. Fully customizable meaning any option configuration. This has got a couple of utility hooks, one to go with a flashlight holder, the other for maybe an accountability tag, radio pocket on either side of the coat, placed wherever you want it, and as well a full custom size of chest, torso length, inseam, waist, sleeve. We have a couple of different collar heights. We have a couple of different barrel dimensions for the hand. So we really can fit individual size on every imaginable platform.
I'm glad you mentioned collar. I mean, looking at it, they look a little different. I mean, it looks, you know, Derek's Legacy gear is a little stiffer collar, which I'm sure you'd agree with me on that. But one thing I did notice unique to both is how the front closure doesn't have your typical, you know, two motion. You have to unstrap it here and then lift your neck up and put it on there. Is it something unique to Fire-Dex, and what's the difference between these two collars?
One of the first things people notice who have never seen a set of Fire-Dex or have never had the opportunity to try one on is we see them reaching for what we call the ghost strap. The strap that most bunker gear manufacturers have to employ on their gear to properly close the front section of the coat. All of our engineered solutions have a proper overlapping closure so the wearer enjoys full protection in the Adam's apple region. There's no necessity for a secondary throat strap to hold the garment closed. So our collars are unique in the respect that they offer 360-degree protection when the garment is properly closed, when it's zipped to the top, or if you're using a hook and D closure, when you've got the hook and D clasped. The Legacy product, the Assault, has what I would call a typical traditional collar that is sewn onto the body of the bunker gear. The FXR collar, is unique in the respect that once you break the closure, you can roll the collar down, and just as it wouldn't manipulate out of position when the garment was closed, it won't manipulate out of position when you're in a more relaxed state and you want the collar to be out of your way completely. The reason for that is the garment truly does not have a secondary body of material sewn onto it to create a collar in the typical sense. It's a one-piece integrated unit into the entire back of the garment.
And maybe the last thing, speaking of the back, I noticed that the DRD, the drag rescue device, on the back of the East Coast, are uniquely different. I know there's been some instances in the past where people have gotten caught up on their drag rescue devices from being exposed or whatnot. Is that something that can happen with this? I don't really see anything for it to catch on. But what's unique about Fire-Dex's implementation of the DoD device?
Fire-Dex utilizes one drag rescue device in all of the garments we produce. We've utilized this drag rescue device for many, many years. First and foremost, Matei, you're right. Our drag rescue device, the deployment area, is always covered. It's covered with a flap that needs to be lifted and removed out of the way to get at our drag rescue device. When you deploy the Fire-Dex drag rescue device, if you need to split and put two individuals on the removal of one down firefighter, you may do so. This is unique to Fire-Dex. There isn't another bunker gear manufacturer that employs the splittable drag rescue device design where two individuals could remove one down firefighter.
And that's something that could happen quite often and poses a problem with just one.
For certain, Matei, that if you can put two people on the removal of one down, you're going to minimize the opportunity for injury to all of you and get that down firefighter out of the hazardous environment much quicker.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Jeff, very much for your time. I appreciate it. If you guys have any questions about the Fire-Dex gear, whether it's the FXR gear or the Legacy gear, looking to get some more information, would like us to come out to your station, give you a phone call, whatever, to talk about what we can do for you, feel free to give us a call here. The number is 717-473-3843, and we're at 232 West Main Street in Palmyra. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Matei, and thank you, 911 Rapid Response.